Greg, welcome back to the podcast.
Great to be here today.
Good to be here, and we've got Thanksgiving this week, so we're probably gearing up for some good food and good family traditions. You know, what comes to your mind when you hear Thanksgiving? Is it good things? Like, what's the first? What,
Yeah.
best? I mean, sometimes, to be honest, I guess sometimes if it's family, that can be a little stressful. Now, young couples that are getting married have that tension of, like, let's say they get married, you know, in the summer. Because sometimes that first conflict is, oh no, how do we?
How are we dividing it all up?
How do we divide our time? And so there is some stress that can come with the holidays, no doubt. But holidays are fun, so I feel for those couples. You know, that's a different conversation. But what comes to your mind?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'll admit I have nothing but fond memories of Thanksgiving. You know, and I think, like, to your point about couples, and I think it's really, really good that we get Thanksgiving and Christmas because, you know, there's a natural way to divide things up. Hey, this year we're going to be in one. You know, again, I'm not saying that's the way you have to do it. I'm also thankful that Thanksgiving falls on a Thursday. So traditionally, my in-laws have had a bigger Thanksgiving celebration than my side of the family does. So we always do Thanksgiving with Jamie's family, and then we've got Friday to go see my folks. And it works. But yeah, I have only positive memories about Thanksgiving. I do think about eating good food and being with family. And, you know, I think I enjoy the fact that it's so simple. You know, the Detroit Lions always seem to play football.
Yep.
I think maybe that has changed. Now that they're good, they're not going to be on anymore. I don't know how that works, but
I think they're always. That is a tradition.
You know, and you watch football, you eat good food, and you know, I don't want to minimize it. It's unique in that the point of the holiday is to encourage a value that I think most Americans really struggle with, which is thankfulness. And, you know, I know we had a presidential election, and I know for a brief minute, one of the candidates was like, you know, her theme was joy. While she's calling someone Hitler, she talked about joy, which seems counterintuitive. But anyway, you know, joy is not something we've talked about it as fruit of the Spirit. It's not something that's normal to our culture. Thanksgiving is not either. And I guess that's why I went to the idea of the campaign. Man, there's a lot of hate and vitriol and complaining. And, you know, you would think that literally our nation had burned to its foundations if you listen to all the political rhetoric and everybody on TV. And then you know, Thanksgiving, we all take this step back and we eat a lot of food that, honestly, if we were impoverished, none of us could afford, but we can. And we're in a nice warm home somewhere. We're with our family. It's like, it's not near as bad as we think it is. And to me, that's part of the beauty of Thanksgiving is even people who don't get beyond it and realize I'm thankful because there's a creator God who loves me and who's blessed me, they still slow down and they realize, oh, today is a day to be thankful for my family and my parents or whatever it may be. There's a charm there. I like that.
Good. Well, and I think you're right, and it makes me think about the benefits of holidays, in particular Thanksgiving, because it does tend to be a more significant one, you know, leading right into Christmas, which for us is going to be the biggest, right? But Thanksgiving is closely tied, and in fact, a lot of homes will decorate for Christmas, and it's like kind of, you have it all. There's that debate, I know, but I'm just saying most people celebrate, and because it is, I guess that's my question, you know, the benefits of it, and you've already hit on some of those, you know, time with family. You get to enjoy some things like good food and stuff, but what is it that's beneficial for us as a Christian, just individually, to stop and have kind of that, you know, it's a day that ends up being multiple days and good leftovers. So like you have the Thanksgiving dinner with somebody on a Saturday. Okay, great. But it's Thanksgiving. What are other benefits that come with just that holiday that come for you or that you've observed with Thanksgiving?
Well, I think you kind of said part of it in even the question. There's a beauty to Thanksgiving in that it's almost a Sabbath, whether our culture wants to admit it or not. You know, it's like with Christmas. Christmas is the biggie, and I love Christmas, and we'll probably do a podcast on Christmas and Christmas traditions, and dare we get into the Santa debate and all that. You know, I mean, there's a lot we can talk about, but Christmas is almost a season. You know, I think that's why we talk about, you know, Merry Christmas, or is it Happy Holidays? Well, sometimes I don't think people are being hateful when they say happy holidays. What they mean is the next 30 days is festive, and there's always something, and you have all your Christmas programs at schools, and it's a cultural phenomenon that plays out over a period of
like
days.
the song, what year was that? Happy Holidays. Who's singing that? It's like, no one goes mad about. That's a great song.
It was,
and that's a good point. That's a good. It's that season we're celebrating. I think that's part of
and
that
you
song
have
was
Christmas
written.
Eve, and you have Christmas Day, and really you have New Year's Day, and it's all kind of an extension. I think what's beautiful about Thanksgiving is that, it's Thursday, but then you do tend to still celebrate a bit on Friday and Saturday. Black Friday tries to get its foot in the door and make it materialistic, and some people, I've never gone anywhere on Black Friday to shop, and part of it is because of this. I love the beauty, the charm of that Sabbath element of Thanksgiving. I just want to be with family, and for me, it almost helps me get my mind set right for Christmas. Because you're in this pattern of behavior all year, and you run and you run and you do and you do. But on Thanksgiving, all you need to do is sit down and eat with your family. Like we have we tend to put the Christmas tree up a day or two after Thanksgiving. But on Thanksgiving Day, I'm not putting any kind of tree up because I'm full and I'm sleepy and I'm watching football, But there is a Sabbath element to it, and I love that because it helps you kind of get in the rhythm, I think, to appreciate the holiday season, which comes next. And it for me, I think it really does. Oh, this is the time of year when I'm going to count my blessings. I'm going to love my family. I'm going to be present. It's not the rat race like it's always been, and Thanksgiving helps shake that loose.
You think that? I think you're onto something here. I also realize that there's that command, honor the Sabbath day, keep it holy, and yet so many people, Hebrews, right? There's basically a challenge and a command to don't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
Do you think let's say just for American Christianity that a lot of people do? Because I hear you, and I love that reset. I love slowing down. I love time with family. But I'm hearing you, and I'm going, we're supposed to have that once a week.
Yeah, correct.
Thanksgiving hopefully is also that time to reflect and a little inventory. I should get this, not to that degree. There's an element of Thanksgiving you can't replicate every week, nor would it wouldn't be special if we did. That's not what I'm saying. But the Sabbath is, the idea of slowing down, the idea of setting aside work, the idea of just focusing on time with God, time with family, reflecting on all that's good and right in life. I've never thought about that before. Thanksgiving's an opportunity for me to at least, if that's the only time of year, we're not designed to operate that way.
No.
So that's a danger zone. If I'm having to wait until Thanksgiving and Christmas to get that, something's drastically broken. And by the way, God kind of designed a little system for us to not have to wait on that. I just thought that just listening to you, I'm going, that's probably a good challenge to all of us. Are we honoring that? There's a reason why we have it, because we can all. You mentioned football. I do. The Lions are playing somebody, and somebody's getting the turkey. Do they still do that? I think it's like
they did last year.
There's something so nice about that. You get a nice full belly, and what's the thing in the turkey that makes you actually
tryptophan? Something like that.
It actually makes you sleepy, right? It makes you that. Yeah. So let's go. That's just.
Or everybody's mothers have been drugging the whole household for generations. I'm going to get me some rest today.
That's right. Something's going on because man, I love to watch the Lions and fall asleep. Yep. There's just something right about that, and we should look forward to that. So that's great. I love that. Well, that's a good challenge. I just never connected that dot, and it's cool for you to kind of observe that it is a Sabbath, it's a reminder to us, and it can be that. That's a benefit that I don't want to miss out on.
And I think it's worth saying, you said, Christians should know one time out of the year is not enough. We need to have a regular rhythm of Sabbaths, I think, in our life. And again, I don't believe it's supposed to necessarily be Sunday anymore. I think there's some latitude for practice that day of rest, and it may be different for different people depending on their jobs and whatnot. But I think what is unique about Thanksgiving is it's like the whole nation at least slows down and joins us for a day.
Right.
That's what it should feel like. Cool. Hey, we do this all the time, but it's really neat that everybody else would get on board and practice this day of rest with us. And so that's part of what's affirming is, I guess Lincoln technically he inaugurated the first Thanksgiving, I believe, and I think he knew what he was doing. And I love that it's had legs and generational impact. And for me, that's kind of how I look at it. It's fun that everybody joins us on this day as we're practicing thankfulness. So
I do. You have a favorite dish? Let's go just real quick. I know, because I want to kind of get into thankfulness and kind of like, I'd love to hear your perspective on that and just why we're so quick to lose the sight of that. But just for fun, like favorite, like main dish, if you will, and then favorite dessert. What do you think?
I can deal with turkey, but I'd rather have ham. Okay. So I'm a little odd there.
How about side? What's the side you're choosing?
Man, you give me anything like some sort of cheesy potatoes or hash brown casserole. I'm in. I'm in with that. That's my thing.
Good.
Yeah.
What about dessert?
I like the good old pumpkin pie. Okay. I'm not hard on that. I can go simple. Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah. What about you?
Good choices. Turkey and dressing all day. I love turkey and dressing. And pecan pie.
Yeah, so, you can't go wrong there. I mean, it's a toss-up.
I mean, apple pie is like super close second, but both of those. I usually get a slice of both and then, have fun.
Jamie always does a sausage like dressing.
Oh, okay.
And like a breakfast sausage dressing.
Okay.
And I'm
wow.
I mean, I love just regular dressing with gravy or But the sausage dressing is really good.
There you go.
Yeah,
okay.
it's really
all right.
good.
Well, this is fun because this podcast, makes me
get everybody hungry.
Yeah, it's coming.
Hey, random detail too. This is a YouTube rat hole that I found myself in the other day. There's a couple of YouTubers, and I haven't even followed what their names are or anything, but they do this deal where they're at a British all-boys school. They're like 7th, 8th, 9th graders, something like that. And they introduce them to American food. And I saw Arlo's laughing because he's in on this, I guess. So, and I just watched the episode yesterday where they introduced them to like Thanksgiving, an American Thanksgiving, and they were trying pecan pie and stuff. And it's simple. I mean, there's nothing strategic about it, really. I mean, it's just them honest reactions from these 8th, 9th grade boys.
So what kind of response did they get?
They liked Thanksgiving a lot. They wound up, they're like, yeah, you Americans know what you're doing with this food. And they really, to me, they didn't serve them what I would have served them to show off. They didn't have any hash brown casserole or turkey and dressing. They had a sandwich from leftovers. But anyway, it's just simple in its charm, and it's fun to watch them. So
that's good. Well, that's fun. Let me ask you this then. Thankfulness, right? It's Thanksgiving. And we know in Scripture is there's only 2 places in the Bible where it says, this is God's will for your life. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, one of them, I think it be thankful. I might be tagging that to something else. I don't know. There's a short little I don't know where that is, Greg, but be thankful is definitely in there. I don't know where if it falls right after this is God's will for your life, but certainly the command is there to be thankful. But how do I know if I'm living thankful? Because I feel like we can easily default and we don't realize it. In other words, I don't oftentimes realize how I've been taking things for granted until it gets taken away from me.
Yeah.
And then I realize it could be your power goes out and you're like, you know what? I took that for granted for a long time because that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Running water, whatever the case may be. What are some things you've learned just for your life that help you kind of that litmus test, the check in your heart and mind? Am I living thankful? Because certainly that's not something we want to do just once a year. Hopefully that's something that we're experiencing on a daily basis and paying attention to where we're not. Yeah. And thus kind of correct it.
Well, and I think that's why, I mentioned Lincoln inaugurating the day. I think there is a genius because you just said it. In the flesh, we're not naturally prone to be thankful. And so I think the best way to promote thankfulness is to take an inventory and to take time and you have to volitionally say, oh man, I've just been living my life. I've been on cruise control. I haven't stopped and counted my blessings. And I'll admit, one of the things I do every day in my prayer time is I keep a list of things that I'm thankful for, not trivial things. These are all big things, my wife, my family, my job, those things. And I actually pray over that list every day just to make myself be thankful. And so I will, in a sense, I recite back my blessings to the Lord. And I don't do it. I don't just sit down and go, well, now's the time I tell him I'm thankful. No, I've written them down so that I get all the big ones that I feel convicted about. and then I try to add to that list as time passes. I'm not talking about 100 things. I mean, I don't think you can focus when you're, I'm just talking about 15 to 18 things that I'm really thankful for, that I confess to the Lord every day. I think you have to slow down and be intentionally thankful. And then I think the other way that you practice thankfulness and or you reprogram your brain is I think you have to always be evaluating yourself on, what am I wanting? What am I pursuing? What am I coveting? Do I always have a list of things I've got to buy, I've got to have at the house, I want to purchase? And I think that tends to show you whether or not you're really thankful or not. How much do you need? And so, I'm a planner and I budget and I think all those things are intelligent, but sometimes it's good to look at your budget and go, why am I saving for this? Do I really need that? And so I would argue that your shopping list tells you a lot about whether or not you're thankful. If you go to my Amazon wish list, the reality is about all I keep in there is the books that I want to read when I have time to do it. And as long as I can keep it that simple, I feel pretty good about it, because it's not like I'm coveting a bunch of stuff. I mean,
so contentment. If I'm lacking contentment, I'm probably lacking some thankfulness. Yeah,
and that's a better way to say it. Are you content? And for me, what I'm wanting to buy tends to tell me whether or not I'm content, So that's a good way to evaluate yourself.
And it's hard because, like, I love to, all my kids are like anywhere from like 7 to 14. I love shopping for Christmas. So we mentioned Black Friday. I do like to get the deals.
But you're doing it for them, right?
I am, and that is fun. So, but you can get caught up in that. So, like, it is, you have to be careful with that, because there are things I want for them, but even it's fun to shop. Like, that's fun. I enjoy that. But you do have to.
Yeah, I think generosity is I have realized the older I've gotten, the more, like you're saying, I love giving my kids stuff now. I'll confess, when I was younger, I was very strategic even about, Lego sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I really want that Lord of the Rings Lego set. Me and Carter can put that together on it. I mean, okay, well, maybe that wasn't all that altruistic. As I've gotten older, though, it actually encourages me. I'm like, I can just enjoy the holidays because I like seeing them enjoy this, that, or the other. And so, you can check yourself that way. Now, good. I would say if you're looking forward to the Black Friday specials, and now you don't have to leave your home, you don't have to camp out. You can do it.
They kept pushing it further and further back.
Oh yeah,
it's like now it's like Monday
Walmart
or the week
started
before.
Yesterday, I think, early Black Friday or whatever. If you're on the app, I mean, but at least you can do that from your home, and it doesn't disrupt your holiday. So I don't mind that as much. But if you've got 13 things on your list you got to have, and 9 of them are for you, maybe you've got an issue with contentment. If you're buying for your family, again, you better be able to afford it, but still, at least you're buying it for somebody else.
That's good. No, that's good. I like that, contentment. Am I content? If I'm not content, it's hard to be thankful, and that's a great observation. That's a great way to say it, and it's a great challenge because, I don't want to wait until something's gone before I'm like, man, I was taking that for granted. That's sad.
Yeah. And that happens with people too, and that's why you slow down, you enjoy a meal with your family. Because again, we live with this idea that almost like everybody we love's eternal or something. And, we've talked about it a lot as a church. The last year, we've lost a lot of really precious people and people that left seismic markers on our church for years to come. And, we're not always promised next year. And I'm not trying to be morbid at all, but it's like, that's why you celebrate Thanksgiving and you enjoy your family, because, in God's graciousness, we'll all be here again next year, but you can't always count on that.
What situations you're facing or what. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let me ask you this about traditions.
Yes,
because
sir.
Would you consider, are those good or bad?
Yeah. It's probably like my answer would be on technology. It depends on how you use them.
Fair enough.
I sure would say this, and I want to say it clearly. Traditions on their surface are neutral.
Okay.
And it's how are you going to use them?
Okay.
So
good. How do we knowing that and knowing we laugh because we know that they can get to a pretty ugly place.
Yeah.
Idols. I mean, we can go as far as you want to go with that. It can cause nobody's enjoying anything, but we're doing the tradition, right? Nobody's happy, but
we're miserable, but
but we're doing it. We can check the box. Well, how do we But to your point, I think, traditions are fun,
Yeah.
and so how do we know that and kind of know, okay, this can turn into something I don't want it to, but also I'm not going to shy away from it because by nature there's neutral. So like there's some fun things you can do with traditions. There's some fun.
Yeah.
How do you do
Yeah.
that? Not without getting into maybe specifics because everybody's
Yeah.
gonna do their own thing.
Well,
but how do you keep a read on that? So I don't want to get to a place like I want to celebrate and maybe do some things and try some. I don't know, but how do I guard myself against going the wrong direction?
I really think it's you always go back to the purpose, and this is easy for me to answer this way because I know it about church. Lots of traditions in religious circles and Baptist churches and any kind of church, and for me as a pastor, it's always been what's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish on a Sunday morning? Well, I know very clearly we want to gather to worship the one who's been so good to us. We want to give him honor and praise. We want to bring him glory. We want to exalt the word. We've got some simple values. If tradition helps us do that, lean into it. But if the tradition is just there and it's not actually helping us accomplish what we want to accomplish, then it becomes a distraction or an idol, and it can be jettisoned, like musical preferences. Hey, I mean, we could sing, a child's song and glorify the Lord. Musical preferences to me they're neither here nor there because, you can do any. So I would say the same thing like with traditions about Thanksgiving or even traditions about Christmas. You've got to, as a home and as a family, you've got to determine, well, what's the priority of the holiday? What are we trying to do? Well, if we're trying to promote an attitude of thankfulness, then are our traditions helping us do that? Or are they hurting us? And that, I think, is the way to do it. And it's a simple guide, and it's easy to evaluate. And, a lot of the stuff we argue over become really secondary when you get back to, well, why are we doing this?
Yeah. And then it's just check and balance. If that's my kind of guide, then if we tried something and I take an honest look at it and it did not accomplish the goal in which we set out for, we can just scrap that one.
Yeah.
But it probably should tell me something if I'm unwilling to even consider scrapping it. Like we're going to, that's
like we have a tradition. Like we were talking about, obviously my side of the family, Jamie's side of the family. We always spend Thanksgiving with Jamie's side of the family. One, because most of that bunch lives more locally anyway, and it's Thanksgiving Day's a little bigger for them. It's just a bigger side of the family, so we're with everybody on that day. Then we go see my folks on Friday. Well, we've developed a tradition. My folks are in Northwest Arkansas, and Fayetteville, the city of Fayetteville, kicks off its Christmas season that first Friday night after Thanksgiving. They light the downtown square. And if you've never been to Fayetteville for the downtown square, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, we've developed a tradition where we're going to go on Friday night on our way back from my parents' house and see the lights. And it's kind of the kickoff to Christmas, and I can just think, that's a tradition that to me promotes. It feels like Thanksgiving. It feels like the start of Christmas, kind of the Christmas spirit, there's the Holy Spirit, I don't want anybody to take me out of context on this, but it promotes the whole atmosphere of the coming season. But if we were so married to that, it's like, well, it's more important that we get there than to see my family, or, if we're making that into the end all be all, and we're having arguments over the timing and when we get, then we've lost the whole point. If it doesn't contribute to that atmosphere, then the tradition is more important than what you're trying to accomplish.
That's good. All right, let's circle back because I kind of am curious for my own benefit, but I'm curious where you are in your season of parenting with you and Jamie, because meeting with a lot of younger couples newly married, there's tension in the sense you got two great sets of families in a lot of cases, but there's pressure that comes from them because there's like, hey, we want y'all to, and so then the couples are like, they feel a lot of pressure. And I've always looked at that and I've made a mental note, kind of like other things we've talked about with, it's like, okay, so when I get to that season, and I'm asking if this is kind of what you're doing, but if that's fair to ask, because from this now, our oldest is 14. So we're 10 years, let's just say, from like having multiple kids that are kind of in a different season or whatever. I want to give them freedom. Just say, hey, here's what we're doing. We'd love for you to come to whatever works.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to give them the freedom to say, I want to say to them, hey, here's what me and mom got going. We'd love for y'all to come be a part of whatever you can come be a part of. but I don't want to say things like that put any kind of, is that fair? Because I'm looking at this, again, I know parents might hear me talk, but we would just wait, you're not there. But I'm seeing it from the couple's perspective, and it breaks my heart because these couples are experiencing sincere like tension and conflict, even on their marriage now. So I'm kind of telling them, hey, honestly, and this is where I am in the season where Brooke and I had to decide like, hey, this is what works best for us. Because we're our family unit now, and we love our families, but we got to do what's best. And so I've tried to tell these couples, like, hey, you've got to, do what's best for you guys, and hopefully your family can be okay with that. I don't know.
Yeah. We've done enough marriage counseling that we've both said the same thing to folks. So what you're really asking me is, hey, Greg, do you practice what you share with everybody else? So,
sure.
And honestly, yes. And I think some of that is, who you marry makes a big difference. That I'm totally committed to the idea. You've got to free your family up. You've got to free your kids up. And as they get married, it becomes complicated. And so I would look anybody in the eye and tell them exactly what you're just saying. They've got to do what's best for them in that season of life. And, when you have little kids, it gets harder, to get up and to travel and to be here. When say, like this scenario we're talking about, when you're 25, 26, and you've just gotten married and it's your first Thanksgiving or whatever, when one of the in-laws or mama or daddy make you feel like if you're not here for Thanksgiving lunch, you have dadgum let the whole family down, and there are going to be if you're that person making someone feel that way, you're wrong. I mean, it's just that simple. You're making the holidays out to be it's bondage all of a sudden. And you've introduced a family argument that's going to, if you're the one putting someone under that kind of pressure and that kind of bondage, then that's unhealthy. And I'm with you. I think our job as parents is to free our kids up. And we've tried to do a couple of things like a long time ago. This is where you can get into a lot of stuff probably. Halloween is a weird one for a pastor. I'm not one of those that say, hey, you can't trick or treat, you can't do this, that, or the other. But we've always kind of said, it's an awkward time. And so we're going to do something else. We're going to get out of town. We're going to go do this, that, or the other. We're not going to go trick or treating because, whether we feel like we have freedom or not, somebody else probably will be offended to see their pastor's kids trick or treating. I don't know. So it was easier for us to go do something else. Well, now it's kind of morphed into we have what we call a fall family fun day. Sometime around Halloween or early in Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And for me, that's kind of like, well, we'll go and do this. And then if Thanksgiving's crazy, we've already had a little family time. It's like you can say, we're going to get out of the way almost. And if you need to go be with your families or whatever, go do it. And it's just a way of freeing people up. And
do you feel like you've seen, because one thing that I've just observed, again, I'm not there yet, so I can't speak to, but you are, so I appreciate you speaking to that. But it doesn't, from the couple's perspective, it doesn't make them want to be around family.
No.
So their desire to want to see their kids actually creates the opposite effect. That demand creates a thing where you're going to miss it. You're going to put so much pressure on your kids, they're not going to be around you. And at some point, I think it's the good and right thing of that couple to say, you know what? We might not even see you over the holiday. If this is what it's going to be, and that's what I try to tell couples, at some point you kind of have to stand up your own family and be like, hey, this is what's best for us. We love y'all. We want to be around y'all, but like, this is what's best for us. I hope you can love and trust that, because to your point, it's like if families need to remind themselves of perspective, because you were mentioning you and Jamie have your set of family and her set of family. Well, now a married couple brings in two more families, or another family that has. So it's like you've got this thing's it's a bigger web. So to act as if that doesn't exist is a little selfish and a little nearsighted. So again, kind of may sound harsh, but I'm kind of challenging myself for the future. Right. And I'm hearing you say that you're affirming what I've been thinking and what I've observed from the young couples perspective.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a good challenge to both young couples and also if you're in a season where you have kids and grandkids, let's just bless them all by saying, hey, whatever y'all can come do, like let's make the most of it. And I think with that comes contentment, because going back to that conversation, if you're so adamant to have your children at this specific time, that's called discontentment.
Yeah.
If they're not going to be there and you're going to be miserable because of it, I think you're not even grateful.
Yeah.
Like, are we not
I can only
celebrate-
be thankful if you're here at this place at
Yeah.
this time on this day.
Can we
Yeah.
not be grateful that they have do we not want a healthy marriage for them?
Yeah.
I mean, really, and do we not want to help that thrive? I think we would celebrate that. Let's want that. Like, let's reset our goals. So yeah, I think anyway, that was just on my mind. I know we kind of touched the surface of that, but I think that was good to circle back, and because I see that's a real conflict. And so it's challenging for me because I know I'm not there yet in the sense of like being where you are, but I hear what you're saying, and I'm making a note because I do want to live that when I get there.
Yeah.
I want to remember that so I can go, okay, I want to bless my kids in this way.
But definitely the advice you've given younger people is dead on and is accurate. And I've looked at some young men and said, hey, your mother-in-law has crossed the line with this.
Yeah.
You know, your first responsibility is to make your bride feel loved and
Yeah.
valued. And whatever she needs you to do is what you need to do. And our mother-in-law is probably not. Usually, it's his mother trying to tell them, you need to tell your mama to take a hike, and you're going to do whatever your bride needs. Your wife needs to win in this situation. You better make sure she does.
Is the lesson as a parent? Now, again, this is much further down the road, but like, don't make your kids have to stand up to you. You know,
Yeah,
like
don't
feel
do
like
it.
that's what how you want to bless them. Now, again, I'm not where I'm at. You know, you got teens and all that stuff. That's a different story, but. That's interesting. Okay, well, man, I'm excited about Thanksgiving, and that's fun. I know that's a harder kind of bent we went towards, but I think it's healthy. I think it's a
Everybody's
healthy
there.
conversation.
Yeah.
It's real. That's a real.
And as you get teenagers, they want to go be with their girlfriends. Bless them. Don't make them feel like they got to be with you the whole day. I remember what it was when I was 17, 18, and you'd eat your meal, you watch some football, and then, you know, all your uncles are asleep on the couch, and you don't have any cousins your age, and like, I got a buddy, you know, I want to...
I can go play football out here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Go play.
That's
let
right.
them do that.
That's good. No, that's great advice. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Now let's. I guess all we got left is to go enjoy some turkey and dressing or ham in your sake. So
Ham in my case. Yes,
ham
sir.
in your case. God bless.